is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission, broadcasting from Ankara in the 19-meter band between 12:30 and 13:30 UTC on 15450 kHz to Europe. You can listen to us over the TürkSat 4A satellite and on the internet at www.trt.net.tr through the Voice of Turkey link. Our email address is englishdesk@trt.net.tr.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Here's the news in English, presented by Evren Genç on the Voice of Turkey. And we start by the latest COVID update. Hundreds of more lives have been lost to the coronavirus outbreaks in India, Brazil, and Mexico. Health authorities reported on Tuesday death tolls in the world after more than 1.2 fatalities over the past 24 hours. India led the surge with 848 deaths, which raised the South Asian country's total to 58,390. The Health Ministry also reported 60,975 more COVID-19 cases, taking India's overall count past 3.16 million, including more than 2.4 million recoveries. Brazil, the world's worst-hit country after the U.S. in terms of both infections and deaths, saw 565 more fatalities over the past day, bringing its total to 115,309. With 17,078 additions, the number of cases in the country has topped 3.62 million, according to its health ministry. More than 2.7 million patients have recovered in Brazil so far, the ministry added. Over in Mexico, 320 more COVID-19 patients died over the past day, raising the death toll to 60,800. Infections increased by 3,541 to reach 563,705, while at least 389,120 patients have recovered, the country's health ministry reported. Across the world, COVID-19 has claimed over 813,200 lives in at least 188 countries and regions since last December. More than 23.66 million cases have been reported worldwide, with recoveries exceeding 15.34 million, according to figures compiled by the U.S. Johns Hopkins University. And in a related news, the massive drop in revenues from tourism, which accounted for 7% of global trade last year, could reduce global GDP by as much as 2.8% in 2020, the UN Secretary General said. Citing the latest data from the World Tourism Organization, Antonio Guterres said that as many as 100 million direct tourism jobs are at risk. It is imperative that we rebuild the tourism sector in a safe, equitable, climate-friendly manner, and so ensure tourism regains its position as a provider of decent jobs, stable incomes, and the protection of our cultural and natural heritage, Guterres said. Tourism has been among the hardest hit of all sectors by COVID-19, with restrictions on travel and the sudden drop in consumer demand leading to an unprecedented fall in international tourist numbers. An essential pillar of the Sustainable Development Goals, tourism was the third largest export category after fuels and chemicals in 2019, according to the World Tourism Organization. Tourism is one of the world's most important economic sectors, providing livelihoods to hundreds of millions of people, boosting economies and enabling countries to thrive, he stressed. Last year, tourism generated 7% of global trade and employed 1 in every 10 people globally. The UN World Tourism Organization data expected to export revenues from tourism to fall by $910 billion to $1.2 trillion in 2020. With 90% of World Heritage sites having closed as a result of pandemic, both tangible and intangible heritage is at risk in all parts of the world, the brief warned. International tourist arrivals decreased by 56%, and $320 billion in exports from tourism were lost in the first 5 months of 2020, more than 3 times the loss during the global economic crisis of 2009, according to the UN tourism body. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was speaking to the press on Monday. Last week's discovery of natural gas reserves in the Black Sea is a prelude to the upcoming good news from the Mediterranean, said Turkey's president on Monday. There is a substantial evidence that the natural gas discovery foreshadowed a much bigger gas find, and hopefully the good news will continue, Recep Tayyip Erdogan said after a cabinet meeting at the presidential complex. Erdogan also called Monday's weak Navtex alert a spoiled act that endangers the coastal and navigational safety of all ships in the region. Athens, Navtex said its air and naval forces would not hold joint exercises in an area overlapping with the one Turkey declared on Sunday. From now on, Greece will be responsible for all conflicts in the region and will be protected. The Turkish ships will be freed, and the vessels accompanying it will not retreat from their activities in the region, he said. Turkey on Sunday issued an navigational alert announcing a 4-day extension to the Oris route energy exploration. Navtex is a maritime communication system that allows ships to inform other vessels about their presence in the area, as well as other information. Turkey resumed energy exploration earlier this month in the eastern Mediterranean after Greece and Egypt signed a controversial maritime delimitation deal. Greece and other countries have tried to box Turkey's maritime territory and energy exploration rights, despite no country having a longer coastline on the Mediterranean. President Erdogan also spoke about Turkey's fight with terrorism. He said the kind of mentality which sides with terrorist groups instead of supporting democratic countries has come into U.S. politics, in a reference to Turkey's fight against terrorists. In its more than 30-year terror campaign against Turkey, the PKK, listed as a terrorist organization by Turkey, the U.S., and the European Union, has been responsible for the deaths of nearly 40,000 people, including women, children, and infants. The YPG is the PKK's terrorist Syrian branch. Despite the YPG's terrorist status, the U.S. has supported it as a supposed ally against Daesh in northern Syria. A mentality which looks the other way when our country is being attacked by terrorists and hopes to see the results when we face a coup is a stain on the name of democracy, Erdogan said, referring to a recently controversial remark by U.S. Democratic Party presidential nominee Joe Biden. In a video clip that went viral, Biden said we can support those elements of the Turkish leadership that still exist and get more from them and embolden them to be able to take on and defeat Erdogan, not by a coup but by the electoral process. A total of 51 asylum seekers have been rescued off the coast of Turkey's Aegean region. Some 30 asylum seekers were rescued off Didim and Kuşadası districts in Aydın province when coastal security forces received information that they were in the region in a boat. Coastal security teams have saved all 22 asylum seekers from Didim and 8 from Kuşadası. Meanwhile, 21 asylum seekers were rescued by coastal security teams from a rubber boat floating off the coast of Bodrum. After breaking down, the boat began drift and those on board asked for help. All of the irregular asylum seekers will be sent to the Provincial Migration Authority after regular checks, according to statements by both coastal security teams. Turkey has been a key transit point for asylum seekers aiming to cross into Europe to start new lives, especially those fleeing war and persecution. Earlier this year, the country opened its gates to irregular migrants seeking to reach Europe, accusing the European Union of failing to keep its promises under a 2016 migration deal. Turkey has repeatedly condemned Greece's illegal practice of pushing back asylum seekers, saying it violates humanitarian and international law by endangering the lives of vulnerable migrants, including women and children. And finally, in the news, the Israeli army said Tuesday that warplanes and tanks targeted a Hamas tunnel at military points in southern Gaza. Palestinian military bombed empty fields and some observation posts belonging to the Izzettin al-Qassam Brigade, the armed wing of the Palestinian resistance group Hamas. No casualties or injuries were reported. The Tel Aviv administration claimed that a fire broke in the area after Palestinian activists sent incendiary kites and balloons to the Jewish settlements around the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army frequently carries out airstrikes on border areas in retaliation for incendiary attacks which they claim are launched from Gaza. And that was the news brought to you by the Voice of Turkey. Yeni Şafak quotes Erdoğan's comments on Greece. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan commented about Greece's now text announcement, calling it an act of spoiled behavior endangering the navigational security of all ships. Erdoğan said, "From now on, the only culprit for anything adverse that may happen in the region is Greece. This country will also be on the receiving end of any harm that may come out of this." Saban takes up Erdoğan's Mediterranean projection. Speaking after the discovery of 320 billion cubic meters of natural gas in the Black Sea, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan said they are hopeful of a similar discovery in the Mediterranean. Erdoğan also stressed the fact that they are not going to take any steps back, and the exploration ship TUR accompanying fleet will roam the sea. Vatan takes up Turkish naval measures against Greece. Upon Greek announcement of a naval military exercise in the exploration area of Turkish Oruç ship, Turkey announced her first countermeasures, noting that the decisions by Athens will increase the tension in the region and that Turkey has all the rights to explore for natural resources. Turkish Minister of National Defense Hulusi Akar said, "We did our utmost to fulfill our mission until now, and that's what we're going to do after this point." TUR reports about more gas in the Black Sea, marking Turkey's discovery of 320 billion cubic meters of natural gas in the Black Sea at beginning. Speaker for the Turkish President's office, Ibrahim Kalın, said, "Our technical experts tell that there's even more potential. The exploration and drilling works will continue." And finally, Habertürk reports about increasing figures of Turkish tourism. The number of tourists that visited Turkey in July increased more than fourfold over the month of June and reached about 930,000. Of all the border gates of Turkey, Istanbul received the largest number of tourists, receiving about 1/3 of all the tourists entering Turkey, and was followed by Antalya and Edirne. And that was the review of the Turkish press. Al-Quds El-Arabi, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan predicts that Turkey will discover natural gas in the Mediterranean after its discovery in the Black Sea. Al Jazeera, after the signing of ceasefire in Libya, the armed bands loyal to Haftar are cutting down communications in the city of Sirte. The city is being isolated with no internet access. Al-Raya Al-Qatariya, aircraft of Qatar Air Force and US Air Force performed a joint flight as a symbol of friendship between the two countries. Prensa Latina, Cuba, Turkey isn't considering withdrawing its ships in the Mediterranean. La Vanguardia, a Spanish person became the first in the country to suffer from COVID-19 for the second time. El País, in Catalonia, the gatherings of more than 10 people are banned. This number is 6 in Murcia. And in the city of Madrid, gatherings are banned also. France 24, Germany placed Côte d'Azur region in France in the not recommended to travel list. Le Figaro, Algeria is going to a referendum over a constitutional change in November the 1st. Le Monde, in the United States of America, the Republican Party officially announced the current President Donald Trump's candidacy for the upcoming presidential election. Deutsche Welle, in Germany, where the new coronavirus cases rose to 2,000 per day, renewed widespread mask usage is being discussed. German Minister of Foreign Affairs Heiko Maas will arrive in Ankara today after his talks in the Greek capital Athens. Tagesschau online. Russian opposition leader Navalny, who is under treatment in the German capital Berlin, is confirmed to have been poisoned. And moving on to Russia, RIA Novosti agency, Deputy Secretary of the Russian Security Council Oleg Kramov said that 75% of all the cyber attacks in the world originate from the United States. Izvestia, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun on Belarus opposition leader and presidential candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya spoke about strengthening of democracy in Belarus. And finally, Kommersant, Greek Cypriot administration is going to open borders to Russians within certain categories. And that was the review of the world press.
Don't forget, coronavirus is a symptomatic illness. The most common symptoms are fever, exhaustion,
Did you know that southern Turkish city of Hatay is listed on the UNESCO Creative Cities Network as a creative city of gastronomy? The diversity belonging to each and every civilization and religion that are imbued in the Turkish city of Hatay, a city with an 8,000-year-old past, gave birth to an exceptional and distinct gastronomy culture unique to the region. Hatay, which is located on the ancient Silk Road, is at the same time a gate opening to the Mesopotamian region and the Middle East. Thus, the rich gastronomy culture of the city, their 100-year-old cooking utensils and techniques, and local recipes were passed down through generations and have managed to survive up until today. Thanks to its location, Hatay enjoys the mesmerizing climate and rich vegetation of the Mediterranean, so that Hatay cuisine is perfectly Mediterranean with its lavish and fresh vegetables, abundant olive oil, legumes, and grains. Another distinctive characteristic of the city's cuisine is the use of many diverse spices in the cooking of nearly every food in the region. Those who have visited the city of Hatay and tasted its local and delicious meals with traditional techniques cannot forget the city's unique gastronomy culture, besides Hatay's extraordinarily amazing natural attractions and deep-rooted history. In June 2017, Hatay applied to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network to be recognized as a creative city of gastronomy and was accepted on 1st of November the same year. So, since November 2017, Hatay has been carrying the title of the UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy. In other words, the city, Hatay, is an officially and internationally registered city with its certified, diverse, and rich gastronomy culture. Did you know that?
world of news in 41 languages on trtvotworld.com. All around the world, every hour of the day, TRT Voice of Turkey is with you.